Hi, I'm Jenna.
And I'm Heather.
And this is Conspiracies Unlocked, our podcast about all things conspiracy related. What are we going to talk about today, Heather?
Okay, so have you heard of the Roswell incident in New Mexico?
So I've heard of the city Roswell, and that there was a UFO that crashed there at some point in time in like the 50s, I think.
Yes, so there's this big conspiracy regarding UFOs and aliens in Roswell, New Mexico, which is now a military base.
That's Area 51, right?
Yes.
Or is Area 51 in Nevada? I thought Area 51 was in Nevada. Or is it?
Maybe you know what? I don't know. Actually, I don't know if it's Area 51.
Well, hold on, because I want to check it out. Hold on, guys. Hold on. All right, we're back. I just looked it up, and it is two separate locations. Roswell and Area 51 are not the same location. I really thought it was, and then Brad told me, not even, a few weeks ago that they're separate locations. Because Roswell's in New Mexico, and Area 51 is, right outside Las Vegas in Nevada. So that's but then you have places like the Hoover Dam, the Grand Canyon that spans across both Nevada, and so I thought maybe it was like that, but whatever. Anyways, go on with your thing.
Well, I just assumed that it was, and then
it's so close.
As I was researching it, in my brain, I just kept thinking that it was Area 51, Area 51. But, looking back at my notes and everything, never once did I even mention Area 51.
Yeah, I think I remember video games that was Area 51. So much Area 51 is aliens, so you just automatically, and then you put it, right next to each other, because they are really close. The Western Hemisphere not hemisphere, the Western side, of America gets so many alien sightings. We're the epicenter for America in alien sightings, so.
And I think that has to do, which we could talk about also on another is because of the water. And the whole other conspiracy we could get into about underwater bases in the Pacific Ocean.
Wow.
Coronado,
shit.
Yeah, and also there's, what is the island called?
Natsni?
The one off of...
Catalina.
Catalina.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a lot of sightings in Catalina, too.
Oh.
So...
It has to do with the Pacific Ocean.
The
Not
Pacific
even the
Ocean.
Atlantic Ocean or anything else. It's the Pacific Ocean is the thing.
Yeah, so there's...
Oh, that'll be interesting to do some other, to take a deep dive into that. Literally dive into the ocean.
Literally dive, and that'll be a whole nother...
Maybe you can do that next time.
That'll be a whole nother interesting conspiracy, because I really do believe that is possible.
Why not? All right, let's go back to Roswell.
Back to
Roswell.
So Roswell, you were right when you said around the 50s. It was actually 1947.
Okay.
Yeah, to be specific, it was actually July 8th, 1947. And there was numerous eyewitnesses that had stated that a UFO had crashed and that they actually saw some type of life form or being, but they didn't know what it was. There was nothing officially was said by the government, other than in the beginning they stated that there was a flying disc is the word they used. They put it in the newspaper, a flying disc. That's how everything was back then, the newspaper. And then 2 days later, they totally retracted their statement and went with weather balloon.
I've heard of that. Okay.
Yes.
So that's what I was gonna say. Wait, they've never actually said flying disc, but they did at first, and then they were like, just kidding, guys, we're gonna freak you out, so let's say it's a weather balloon.
Oh yeah,
and it's totally fine because we did it, and trust us, we're the government.
Yeah, they had to come up with something, because
people are losing their shit.
There was a lot of witnesses. There was a lot of witnesses that had everyone from different parts, people that didn't know each other. They all had similar stories. They saw a light. They saw, something crash. They saw debris fly up. People said that they saw actual beings. that
like
looked
that
dead
are not
or alive.
human, like moving dead people, zombies.
And so, the government had to come up with something real quick as soon as somebody put out flying disc.
They were like, no.
Yeah, because you have to think this is July 8th, 1947. And if you go back to the basics of our military defense, going back to 1914 with the 1st Aero Squadron, the entire U.S. Army Aeronautical was only 6 aircrafts and 66 personnel.
Shut up.
Yes.
Is that what they used to call the Air Force?
Yes.
Because they still had fighter jets and everything in the Army and other things, right?
Well, because
Pearl Harbor happened.
Yes.
And so they had to have, remember in, Pearl Harbor, they had a bunch of stuff, but I don't know when
that was later. This is in 1914 when it first started.
Oh, okay.
Actually, it started if you really want to go back, it started in 1907. And in 1907, they were not a part of the defense they were a branch of the Army, and they would literally just do balloons and that type of stuff, because there was no aircraft. They didn't have the aircraft that they do now to have a whole air force. So it started in 1907, and then it went to 1914, where it was only 6 aircrafts, 66 personnel. But then by the 20s, kind of that industrial era and boom and everything, that's when the formal training started. Gotcha. That's when they did the engineering, they did the flight schools.
Yeah.
They did technical schools.
So, yeah, okay. Yeah. And that's when airplanes became more feasible.
Yeah.
Nobody was doing airplanes before that, obviously.
Yeah, so they changed their name to the Air Service by that time. And then they had the Air Corps Act of 1926. And even by then, the Air Force officially was not established. It was not the Air Force even in the 1926. They were starting to get everything together with the flight schools and the engineering schools and everything, but it was still just part of the Army. It just had been slowly evolving as the technology was evolving. It got bigger and bigger and bigger.
For sure.
And then with, World War I, and then with World War II, which was, the whole Nazi Germany, that really, really blew it up, because we needed
all the planes.
We were going to defend,
for sure.
So we had to have all of that. So Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1938, he did acknowledge that we needed the manpower, and the United States was going to be heavily involved in the European War, and that there was no way of backing out of it. Not that they wanted to, but it was we're going full steam with this, so we need to do mass production. We need to ramp everything up, because they started with 66 personnel, and just a few 6 aircrafts. So they really needed to step it up for World War II.
100 times 100, yeah.
So it got to the point where Roosevelt ordered the War Department to build 10,000 airplanes, and there was approximately 26,000 Air Corps men and women. Cool. And the cost back then, you know how much the cost back then for the defense was?
For all of it? Oh, let me guess.
In 1938.
38, I want to say maybe 100 or... oh my gosh, 1.5 million.
Okay, so back then, he ordered $300 million to be put into this air defense.
Holy shit.
In 1938.
So that would equivalent to, I don't know, $1 billion, $2 billion. But then again, everything...
It was a lot.
Yeah, but then again, we sent $10 billion to Ukraine the other day. So...
Just here you go, have our money.
Yeah, why not? So I guess it's not that big of a deal.
I mean, but back then, it was a big deal, because we, I don't know, I guess, were we poorer then, or poorer now? I guess
poorer now.
Yeah, we're poorer
but
now.
At that point, we were still moving strong. All right, anyways.
So just kind of moving forward, with that $300 million, the war was rapidly growing. The U.S. involvement grew by 1945. Now we're getting to 1945. 63,000 aircraft, almost 64,000 aircrafts. So we went from
double.
Well, we went from 6 aircrafts.
Yeah.
To about 64,000 aircraft.
And in between there, you said 23,000?
Yes.
So literally in 5 years, it doubled. From 23, it boomed.
It boomed. It had to boom because of the war. And then...
Or else we'd all be speaking German.
And the law in part birthed the Department of the Air Force. So that's when the actual United States Air Force was born. It was born on September 18th, 1947. So it started in 07, 08,
so
which
it took
was
40 years to establish.
And $300 million plus, because that was just what they put into it for the war efforts.
Yeah.
That wasn't even everything put into it. So it was long, coming. So that's kind of the short history reminder. And then with the conspiracy going back to the Roswell, it was also in 1947, as I stated. It was July 8th, 1947. And when this flying disc, weather balloon, UFO craft, whatever they want to say it is, crashed, multiple people witnessed it, and there was reportedly 3 entities or life forms or aliens, whatever they want to categorize them as, 2 of which died on impact. 1 was alive and was I don't want to say captured, but was essentially like a POW on Earth.
Prisoner of war on Earth.
We weren't at war with them, but
no, they got captured. I mean, what else? But they kept it, right?
Yeah, they kept it for quite a while.
But we don't know for sure. This is all just conspiracy.
This is conspiracy.
So who knows the truth? But okay, so they kept this alien.
They kept the alien, and at first they didn't really know what to do with it, because obviously they're like, what is this creature? Where is it?
Was there pictures?
A million. I did not see any pictures in my research, but I know that I have seen footage and pictures
elsewhere
that was reportedly from this alien encounter, but I don't know if, it's all conspiracy. I don't know. It did kind of look like a doll or something.
Yeah, exactly.
It looked like it could have been like a wax figure or something, but also you have to think the technology wasn't as good back then for the video recording and
or
stuff.
Cameras or anything, yeah.
So, maybe if it was real, it just didn't look real because the quality of the camera was crap.
Well, and they wouldn't have wanted that to get out, so I'm sure they didn't want to take any pictures.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. Well, I'm sure they did for their own
stuff, but it's still probably buried underground somewhere, and you know what I mean, in a government basement where there's no door, it's just a flat field, and you have to know exactly where to go, and you stomp the ground 4 times, do a flip, and then all of a sudden a door appears.
It's in the vault for sure.
Yeah, it's somewhere.
It's down in a bunker.
Yeah, exactly.
Surrounded
bunker.
By,
that's the word I'm looking for.
Heavily armed personnel
that are just gonna jump out of bushes and shit. No, you can't even see them. They just jump out when you arrive.
Probably has a heat, a climate control, laser beams you have to crawl through.
Right. There has to be some sort of truth to all these movies, like Independence Day, and Yeah,
what do they say?
Art forms or
recreates truth, or what is it?
I don't remember. Art is a form of truth, or
something.
I don't know. Why don't we know this quote? It's such a famous quote. Anyways, okay. So, tell me more about the alien that they found.
So, the alien that they found eventually kind of, not saying it wasn't calm, but it got to a point where they were able to interview the alien at some point.
How?
So the alien could not communicate in any way except for through its mind, telepathically. And it would only communicate with this one woman.
Oh my gosh.
It would not communicate with anyone else.
Do you think the woman was crazy?
Well, she was in the army. She was 23 years old.
Do you think she was off her meds that day? Maybe they didn't have meds then?
You know,
maybe she was schizo.
She was actually, I believe she was a nurse.
So she was self-medicating. That's what you're
she
telling
was
me?
a high-ranking senior. Okay, let me get it straight. She was senior master sergeant of the Women's Army Air Force Medical Corps. That's
so she was like the head nurse?
She was like the main head, the sergeant, the senior master sergeant of the entire Women's Army Force. So she was like the high-ranking.
So she was the SMSWAA FMC. The head of that.
Yes. So she was like the highest authority in her department branch.
But that would make sense as to why she was the one that was down there and not some, you know, what do they call the people that are low ranking, the scurvy dogs or something?
The grunts? I don't know.
Yeah, grunt is the word. I'm all scurvy dog. My 4-year-old just came out in a pirate costume like a few weeks ago, and he jumps out and he goes, "You scurvy dogs! Arg, you scurvy dogs," something like that. I don't know why I went to scurvy dogs, but that reminded me of.
That is so funny though, actually. Well, you know, she was actually pretty young to have that high-ranking. She was 23.
Yeah, that's crazy. So she was probably already in it for at least 5 years, if not more. Like, my dad joined the Army when he was 17.
Oh, wow.
And that was in the 60s or 70s. 60s, 70s, I don't know. But he was born in 58. Everybody else can do math. So even in the 70s, they were like, not allowing, you're supposed to be 18, but it's like, they weren't checking anything. You know, he just wanted to get out of his town. So she could have been in for 6 years at that point. And the position that she held wasn't even like a thing when she started. So it's like,
oh, no.
No. So the Air Force wasn't even a thing yet. So it's like she was right there in the running, you know, right there. Like, and she has 6 years experience, at least 5 years probably, if not 6. So it makes sense that why she would be so high up. It's not like there's 40-year-olds that have been there for 30 years.
That's true.
Or 20 years,
You know, I didn't even think about that, but you're right.
There's nobody else there. She would be the highest person there.
Because she was there at the birth
of
the Air Force.
Yeah,
so,
like now it would be somebody that's like 40, 45 because they've been there since they were 18. They've already put in like 20 years or 15 years or 30, whatever, you know.
So it's kind of like the right place at the right time.
It is. It totally is.
But she...
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, so she, so telepathically.
Yes.
So does that mean that the alien telepathically would translate it to English for her?
No, so the way that it worked is she would ask the questions aloud to this being who she deemed the name Airel.
How do you spell that?
It's A-I-R... let me check my notes here because I forgot. Yeah, I was right. So it's A-I-R-L.
Oh, not E-L-L or just...
No, but it's
Airel?
Pronounced Airel.
Airel.
And so to answer your question about how they communicated, she obviously, so the alien kind of got put in her department because she was the head of the medical. And the first thing, because this being had crashed and the other two were deceased, their first thing is like, okay, we got to take it to medical and just make sure it stays alive, that it's okay, because we want to study it, we want to speak to it, we want to learn about it, we have questions, like we can't let it die.
Yeah.
So that's how it kind of ended up where she was.
Yeah, that would make sense. How would medical... Could you imagine, like, somebody bringing you, like, a dinosaur or something totally random and being like, fix it, and you're, like, a pediatrician. Like, you've only done, or, like, nurse, like, you've only done humans, and they're like, hey, here's an elephant. Keep it alive. Thanks.
Yeah. No.
How? I wonder if it was a girl. Airel sounds like a girl name, but like, I wonder if it was a girl or a boy, or
so that's
if they had sex genders that like if they could reproduce just by like nothing, just let me make more of myself.
Like asexual.
Like asexual type thing.
I think frogs, there's some frogs like that too.
Really?
believe it's frogs and
that's
some
funny
other...
because frogs are kind of like smaller aliens with slimy skins.
Little amphibians, reptiles. Yeah, so, that's another good point that you brought up because that was also addressed in
was it? Okay, you talk. I'll stop asking.
No. I'm glad that you're asking questions because as you're asking questions, it's making me remember more that aren't even in my notes, so that's good. But basically, it was through telepathically, but it was also not only just where, if I want to, let's say I'm thinking of a number, and then I try to say the number to you with my mind, and then you think, 2, and it's 2, That's how I kind of think of like telepathically. But the way that she described it, her name is Matilda, by the way, Matilda O'Donnell McElroy. She described it as, it wasn't only telepathically, it was feeling. She could feel the emotions and the feelings from the alien. So it conveyed all of its emotion and feelings along with the thoughts. So, and because there was a language barrier, because obviously she was speaking English, she spoke English to the alien, and the alien would try to convey back to her, but the alien was not conveying back to her in English. The alien did not necessarily know how to speak English or communicate the way that we do. It could understand her, and they could communicate, but it wasn't like complete sentences. So the alien would just be able to respond with like a 1 or 2 word answers, and then along with the emotion. So then she had to kind of try to decipher it.
Almost like a psychic ability. That's what like psychics.
Exactly.
feel.
Exactly. And
like
the thing.
Tyler Henry.
Oh, Tyler Henry. I know who that is. Yes.
I like him.
I do too.
Yeah.
That's funny you said that because I was watching that.
I already watched all the episodes.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Aw.
I know.
There's going to be more for sure.
There has to be.
There's going to be definitely more. But that's another good one. That would be a good thing to talk about too. Is like different experiences with that and stuff. But yeah, so that's kind of, that's a very good way to put it, the psychic ability. But so some of the main like questions that they wanted to know were obvious, why are you here? So the alien claimed that they were coming to study the clouds on that specific day, to specifically check the electromagnetic field in our clouds and radiation. Which you have to remember, this was July 8th, 1947, and then that's around World War II time. And there was, throughout the world, there was a lot of like explosions and radiation and stuff. So there's a theory that they were coming down because there was war pending and there was war.
And they could see all like
and
the
they could
smoke and stuff. And they're like, what is happening? It shouldn't be cloudy down there right now. It's the middle of summer in Arizona. Why is it cloudy? This doesn't make sense. Or New Mexico, sorry. This doesn't make sense. Like,
yeah, they just wanted to see, that was what it claimed. And then when she asked, well, why Earth? Like, why here? The alien did respond saying that Earth was the property of the place. The place. I say place because when the alien was asked where it came from, the alien responded in a way saying, I'm not an astronomer. Your maps will never show where we are. We're too far away for...
So you're just saying place as lack for a better word because there is no word that... So in an other galaxy.
I mean, it was a galaxy beyond a galaxy beyond a galaxy
far, far away.
Yes. So the actual name that this being gave was domain. So
it's in a different domain.
Mm-hmm. So Airel stated they traveled from a place called Domain, not a planet of one galaxy but many galaxies, which had their home planet had 2 stars and 3 moons.
2 stars?
2 stars, like 2 suns.
I was going to say the sun, so okay.
They said stars, but meaning sun.
Yeah, that would make more sense, yeah. Okay.
And had 3 moons, and continued to state that their civilization is very powerful, extremely ancient, knowledgeable, and the one common goal is just to progress, just to keep going, to learn, and that they have extremely powerful weapons, and that they are far superior to us, and
that's exactly what they would want you to think.
Yeah. But at the same time, they did not mean us any harm.
They've captured a poor alien. They're not going to be like, the alien's going to be like, my friends are coming for me, and you're going to be sorry that you stole me.
No, actually, that was one of the questions that she asked, is, will somebody be coming to find you? And the alien responded, I don't know. That's unknown. And then she did ask, if they were to come to you, how long would it take? Years, months, days, minutes? And the alien responded, seconds. If they wanted to get to me, they can come here in seconds. And being that they were that far away, that's how advanced their technology
that they could
was.
Just come right now.
Yeah. And then the other thing, going back to the whole technology and everything, the flying disc, UFO, spacecraft, whatever, it's, the way that the alien being said that it controlled it was with its mind, but not only its mind, its entire feeling and body. Just the way that it communicated with her is how it communicated with the craft on how to go where it wanted to go and how to navigate and everything.
I wonder if they were having the aliens were having a mental fight, and that's why they crashed. Don't go left. I told you it's on the right.
Freaking backseat drivers over here. Oh my gosh, that would be so funny.
Well, can I ask a question, or are you gonna end up telling it anyways? If you're gonna end up saying it anyway,
no, just ask.
Did they come back for it? Did anybody ever come? Whatever happened to the alien?
No, they never came back for the alien. To my knowledge, from what I've gathered so far, is it never left there. But this is the other thing about this alien, which is a very important thing to describe what it looked like, because we haven't even talked about that. What it looked like and what it told the interviewer, Matilda, how it described itself. If I was to describe myself, I would be like, I'm a female human, from the planet Earth, there would be I breathe, oxygen, I eat food, I drink a lot of coffee, there would be things that would make me human. So the way that this visitor was described by Matilda was very small in size, very thin, and probably about the size of a 5-year-old. No taller.
Really?
No taller and lean. Very, very lean 5-year-old.
It's like Max. Well, Max is 6, but
even skinnier. The way that it was described, because Max is he's a good sized kid. It was extremely kind of bony more than lean, very gangly.
That's kind of how they describe it. But gray. Whenever you see anything, it's always gray, pale, very gangly like that. But it's always our height, 5'8", 6 foot, 5 foot, 5, not 4'2".
Yeah, these were this one was particularly
or less than
small.
that. 5-year-olds aren't even that tall. They're only about 42 inches. I'm just thinking about riding rides and
oh yeah,
and when Max
could get Disneyland or something.
Yeah, and when Max was able to finally ride roller coasters when we went to Dollywood and stuff.
Oh
yeah, because you have to be 42 inches is a big one. 48 is the next one, and he hasn't gotten to maybe he's gotten to 48 by now, but he's 6.
So that's like the roller coaster status.
Yeah,
like,
but he does go on the roller coasters, but there was a bunch he couldn't go on. So, yeah. Anyways.
So this little creature would not have
less
been able to go on the roller coaster, sadly.
Maybe could have gone on, like, Splash Mountain or, like, Thunder Railroad or whatever.
No upside down... no upside down roller coasters for Airel.
No Space Mountain. Oh, that's sad. They couldn't even go on Space Mountain. It came from space.
Oh, they're all controlling it with their mind and like changing the ride. They're like, let's speed this up. Can you imagine?
Oh gosh.
If somehow it was like controlling it, that would be scary.
I bet it could if it really was controlling it like that, because I bet it could control like the electricity, like, you know, if they.
Well, they did say they were here to study our clouds, the electromagnetic field
and everything. Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know why they would want to study it, but they did. Like I said, the alien did say that the main purpose was the protection of Earth because it was the property of the domain.
Yeah.
So this alien was claiming that its people or galaxy or planet owned Earth. Like, it was owned by Earth. I mean, not by Earth.
But no, I was like, wait, what?
I said that in reverse. So that its people were the owners of Earth.
Yeah.
Earth was its
property.
property.
So it would be like,
is what I meant.
The United States owns California.
Yes, and that's why they were, here.
It's just on a much larger scale that we can't even
fathom.
Yeah, just mind blown too much.
So not only was this visitor child size, like a 5-year-old, it had a female-like appearance. So when you were saying, the name sounds female, it did describe itself. It didn't describe itself male or female in the way that it was spoke, but it was more female-like because the way that it described itself when that was one of the questions she asked, are you male or female? Do you have genders? It said that it was neither male or female, but it was a creator of life, and it could create life. So that's why
could everybody create life, or this one, like just this one type, or did she mean, or did he, mean everybody, like everybody in their species can create life?
And I mean, now that I'm thinking more about it, I guess technically a man creates life too, with sperm.
Yeah,
you
with
can't
sperm,
without,
you can't with one without the other, so.
But the way that it conveyed, like, its feelings and emotions, it was just more feminine and more, like,
motherly, like
motherly.
warm.
And so that's how it had the female-like appearance. And
how big were the other aliens that they found dead? Did they say anything about those ones?
They did not say.
'Cause I'm wondering if it's, like a child alien. Like, I wonder how old. Did they ask how old?
No, I didn't get an age. But it did actually say that it was not a biological being, and that the body did not require any air, food, sleep, or anything that we would require as humans. Obviously it's not human, but its body, actual skin was a synthetic material.
So it was
so it was almost like
somebody made it.
It was made, and it was being controlled somewhere else. So everything that was coming out of it was coming from somewhere else.
Oh, like
it wasn't coming from
not transmitter.
Yes, it wasn't coming from its own thoughts. and that it was connected to the craft. It was when they actually did investigate, I'm assuming like autopsy and looked more, it had similar components as the aircraft.
I wonder if it's from the future and it's like AI type stuff, or like, you know what I mean? I wonder if the robots take over the world in the next 10,000 years or something.
Probably. I wouldn't doubt it if it was coming back to protect us, because it did say it's here for protection. It was here to study the clouds and the radiation, because the radiation, obviously we know radiation harms, we die if we get too much radiation.
So I wonder if they're from the future and they're coming back to try to fix it before it's too late.
That makes a lot of sense. I don't think that they asked it that, but I'm calling it robot. It just based on the way that they described it, but really nothing in my research used the word robot, but that was just my way of kind of interpreting it as a robot. It was being controlled by something or someone else in space in their galaxy. And during the interview, the creature or alien claimed that the domain I'm going to say the word wrong. Can you help me with this word?
Expeditionary Force. Domain Expeditionary Force.
So that is like their...
DEF.
That would be like their Air Force.
Yeah.
Or their SpaceX.
Yeah.
You know, we have SpaceX now. That's like their SpaceX.
Yeah.
And, but it's not just their SpaceX.
Their Space Force.
It's a race. So that's like their race. But their race is also like, they're like explorers, scientists, they're engineers,
That's weird.
They're very technical.
So are there other races out there then? Just like we have?
Yes. They talked about that there's many other ones, and they are just this one, and their sole purpose is knowledge, to progress, to move forward, and to protect Earth.
So it's almost like scientists now.
Yeah. So they said that she, they, it, alien, I don't know, whatever you want to...
It's not a being. It's not a being, though.
No, it's not even a being.
It would be a...
I just want to say robot for lack of a better word. I didn't...
Yeah.
As I was doing the research, I went from, like, alien to, all these different... I'm like, okay.
I guess it would be a... but I don't
know.
Robot just seems so mechanical, and which it is on the inside, but it seems almost like the Tin Man. Like, more like... beep, beep. Mm-hmm. And this is more like fluidly moving, right? Like... Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it was. And
I mean, it might have the robot parts inside, but I don't know what to call it. Just alien.
Yeah, alien. So the alien said that they had been conducting operations in the solar system for over 10,000 years, using the asteroid belt as an intergalactic base. So the asteroid belt in our galaxy is the intergalactical base. Meaning that many other galaxies
almost like our
go
International
there.
Space Station.
Yes.
For other countries, it's the intergalactic, so other galaxies go to our asteroid station. Why is it here and not other places? Or do they have several in other Earth-type locations? Because, the theory that there has to be other Earths out there with people on them somewhere else. Some sort of civilization.
No, you're right. Definitely, there's other. There
has to be other.
There's other, but the thing is it didn't get into the specifics of what the other ones are or where they are. It just was mainly talking about theirs and where they go for the base. But they did make some other points stating that Earth is a very small planet on a rim of a star in our galaxy. So they're saying that, like, of all the other galaxies, of all of the other, in comparison, we're really small, and it makes Earth very isolated geographically in the universe, in the solar system.
Wow, that's probably why we haven't gotten to, like, explore so far, maybe.
Yeah, and it has to do with, like, the different things around us in space, like different, gases and different things going on, and the way things are made and stuff.
Whatever, yeah.
We're very isolated, and
so we don't have access to as many gases or as many whatever's out there. Space rocks, asteroids, blah blah, like to get into them, and
we're just very isolated geographically, and the more concentrated planetary civilizations which do exist. So talking about that's the only way that this alien indicated that yes, there's other lives, life forms out there. It said that there's a very concentrated area of planetary civilizations which do exist, but towards the center of the galaxy, and we're more like. That's like the city, they're all clustered more together, and we're on the very rim, we're on the very outer circle. So we're like in the country, in the boondocks. Yeah. And we're very isolated because we're like the country folk, Yeah. Like
it's almost like us compared to Hawaii, and Hawaii's like over there and all far away and by themselves, or like you were saying, the country to the city.
Yeah, so that's the way that they kind of described it. And did
they say what happens when you reach the end?
No, it just keeps going and going. There's no end. It's infinity. The knowledge is infinity. It
has to end somewhere, or at least maybe if it ends, then it just starts.
It just keeps going. It just keeps like multiplying, because they even talked about math, which I'm horrible at trying to explain math. But there was a whole segment that I read researching this that just talked about math and how they use math to navigate, to explore. I mean, just the way we use math for everything. Math is like the universal language for everything. I mean...
Oh my gosh, my head is spinning. I can't think past infinity. I can't think that far.
Yeah, and I
can't math that far. That's too much.
That's why I didn't.
Too much.
I didn't even get into the math part. I was like, I'm just gonna say it's infinity, and then that's it.
Yeah. Whenever I think about how small we are, and then how big like everything else is, and just like when I try to like monetize it, or not monetize it, but I can't even speak now because my brain is like hurting from it's too big, it's too much, and I'm like not a dumb person at all. And I deal with numbers at work. I deal with lots of numbers at work. But when I think about that, my head, just how small we are in the galaxy and in space and in all of this, my head just goes like I can't.
Well, do you want to know something extremely interesting moving past the math? Because the math, to me, makes my brain boggle also.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just paused. I just paused for a minute because I just kept thinking about math.
I know.
So, because our planet is so isolated, and, we're just isolated geographically, that Earth is only suitable for 3 reasons. Based what this alien and their civilization and they all believe, and who knows how many other aliens from whatever. I don't even know what to call them at this point. Earth is only suitable for use as zoological.
Really? No, that nobody else has animals?
Botanical.
Or are we the animals?
Well, they didn't get specifically into it. They said zoological, botanical garden, and its current use, a prison.
A prison?
This is where it gets kind of meaty. Yeah, like a prison. Yes.
For whom? Are we the prisoners? Was I an alien in a past life?
So this alien claims that before 30,000 BCE, before
Common Era,
Earth started to be used by other entities, aliens, as a dumping ground and a prison.
Because we're so far away. Why not?
Yeah.
Wait, but as a prison, so are there aliens that are walking amongst us that we just don't know?
Yes.
No!
So what they are is they are beings who were judged in their worlds and their civilizations as untouchable is the word that was used to describe them, meaning they're untouchable, meaning they're criminal, they did some kind of crime, or, get this, nonconformist. Because the way that their planetary in their world and their, I don't know, government, lack of a better word, I don't know, they have to have some kind of government, right? Their version of the government, they have rules, they have laws, they have some kind of moral standards, obviously, if they're deeming people criminal or nonconformist.
Yeah.
And everything is about order and knowledge. And if you stray from what is, you know, if you're not conformist, they'll get rid of you.
And they put you off to the furthest edge of the
galaxy, far away, where they know it can support life because, like they said, there's animals here, there's plants here, zoological, botanical. Yeah.
So are they in their alien form? Like, is that like, are
they're
they being
in human
stored?
form?
They come here in human.
Because
do they remember that they are, or do you think that we're all just aliens?
Well, the thing is
I'm getting a bigger headache now.
Yeah, what they do is they trap them in a prison. It's using electromagnetic fields. It's almost like they take the spark from the alien, and they put that spark into human form. You know how they say we're all energy, and how
stardust and everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so but people are having babies. So does that mean that
babies are organic? They're human. They're organic.
But I was born. So you think that so.
But
I'm trying to process this. This is a lot to take in. Hold on. I'm trying to understand. So I know that I was born.
Yes.
I don't know about you. You could have just, I wasn't there when you were born. So you could literally be an alien then. Anybody that you don't know. And then that means that you would have just come when you were, what, like 20, and because you got in trouble, and so you would know on the inside that you were alien? Like, you would know?
Well, you gotta...
I mean, I've seen pictures of you when you were, like, 7, unless you stole those.
I mean...
And you don't really look like Isla when you were 7, so that doesn't work either.
You gotta think about how many people are in the world that, like, think about people that are, they grow up without families. They grow up...
Yeah, like
they
transients, and they just don't have any...
Orphans. Or they grow up...
so they don't know they're biological, so do you think that they bring them as babies and just drop them off at an orphanage?
I mean, they didn't say... The alien didn't specifically go into detail, but it is very plausible. They could put it... Because they're taking that spark, they're taking that alien, I guess, soul, so to speak. I don't know. And they're placing it... They're putting it in human form. However they do that kind of transfer, they could transfer it into a baby. They can transfer it into an old man, woman.
So then our kids could be aliens because they could have gotten transferred into...
Oh,
maybe
I didn't think about
Cody's
that.
problem.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah. If they're just doing that.
Well, actually...
Or what about the people who, like, all of a sudden one day they're, like, act totally different, and you're like, a switch flipped in them. What happened?
I think about all the murderers and the big time criminals we have, Huh. Well, maybe the Thailand one is different also, but
Lunar New Year's celebrate everywhere, and Chinese is only in China, but yeah, Thailand is lunar, but China is too.
Yeah.
So I don't.
So it's all that's interesting. I was gonna say silly, but it's not silly. It's like it's interesting that they're all like around the same time.
But anyways, yeah. So a lot of people died from mass shooting. But yeah. Anyways, go on.
So the only other thing that I really have, just kind of wrapping it up, because there's so much more I can do on this. Really, I mean, there's there's over 4 hours of audio from the interviews with this alien, and I only got into about an hour and a half, and it goes deeper. It's like a huge rabbit hole. But kind of going back to, you know, how they were put in prison here, there was 3 specific places where they were transported on Earth. They didn't give any dates, but I'm gonna say these names wrong, so I'm gonna have you possibly help me out here, because I wrote the names down because I'd never heard them before. But the first place that they were placed was in Africa, the mountains of
Renzori.
Renzori.
I'd say Renzori, mountains of Africa.
And then in Portugal, the mountains
the Pyrenees Mountains.
Yeah, Pyrenees Mountains of Portugal. And then Mongolia.
The steppes.
The steppes.
Steppes of Mongolia.
So think about those places: Africa, Portugal, Mongolia. They're talking. That's where the people were placed 300,000 years ago. The prisoners were starting to be placed here. So that's almost like the beginning of mankind. It's like the birth of mankind.
How long? Okay.
Right? Because
30,000 or 3,000? It says 30, but
30. No, 30.
It is
Did I say
30,000?
3? Yeah, 30.
I'm not sure what you said, but
so 30,000 years ago, the first prisoners were starting to be placed here in those specific places. And then you'd have to go back to when was the first man, like, fossil found or footprint found or whatever.
Yeah,
like
they just found out that it does go back that far now. So that's interesting.
And then it's like we were saying, like, oh, are kids, you know, aliens? Are we aliens? Well, it would go back to like the beginning of man. So you'd have to think that if an alien does have like its own DNA, then we would have some of their DNA, right, over time of these different.
But they wouldn't have DNA.
But they're not biological, so that's where it gets really confusing for me, because I can't. I just can't imagine how that would.
Theory of that, yeah, where there's reasons for this, we can speculate reasons for this, of how they're doing this, of this and this, and that's what makes a conspiracy theory plausible, and that's what gets its ground running. But that's the hole in it. But at the same time, we're talking about space, and then maybe it's not even humans. Maybe they are still on Earth, the aliens, and they're in the underwater thing.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't even...
Coronado.
Yeah. Maybe...
Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, but this is more of the Atlantic Ocean. But...
Yeah.
Or the Indian Ocean. But yeah, no, I don't know.
And then it also says dumping ground, but doesn't specify dumping for what. What are they dumping here? If they say it's zoological and botanical, are they dumping plants and animals here? Because there's a whole theory about octopus or octopi that they came from a meteor, and they were found on a meteor. Eggs were found on a meteor. Supposedly, I have to get into that, and that's what started that whole species here.
I wonder
did they dump them here?
Yeah, or I wonder if the octopi are the prisoners.
Which would make sense because they have bases in the ocean.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe we're just... I don't think that our minds... If all this is true, I don't think that our minds are capable of, like, connecting the dots like we want to. We want, like, a fact. Like, okay, so they dumped this person, and then also there's already people. So we just dumped it, and then they mated because we made that work like that. Yeah. And then throughout the years, then they, But if they're still dumping...
Supposedly they're still dumping.
So
since 1947, they were still dumping and researching the planet.
And with all the UFO sightings lately... There's been so many. California was in December 2022, so this past December, last month.
Yeah.
There was the most sightings in California than anywhere else in the world.
Wow.
There was over 51 sightings, I think, or 21 or 51. I don't know why it's so off, but yeah, you can Google that. That's real.
Well,
that's real, I swear.
No, but then there's the whole thing about, which we didn't even get into yet, but the whole thing about they have this, yes, they got the alien, but they also had the flying disc. So there's a whole, they kept that and researched that.
Yeah, where's that at? And the dead aliens and
the whole thing with that is, the theory or conspiracy with that is, as soon as they got one, they reverse engineered it, and that's how we have the technology we have today for
flying and everything, because all of a sudden right then is when everything boomed, and all of a sudden you went, ooh, that almost seals the deal of it being an alien aircraft. Because why else would it all of a sudden boom unless they found some sort of technology to make it boom? Exactly.
And then the other theory with this specific alien is that it's not biological. It doesn't need it's still there. It's working with the government.
The alien is right now, you think?
Yes, the ones that they had passed, those are the ones that they opened up and they dissected.
So do you think
they weren't going to kill this one because they want all the knowledge?
Yeah. Do you think that's still alive? You think it's still alive?
I don't know if it's still alive, based because that was 1947, but our concept of time and their concept of time.
It could make it to where it ages faster here or slower.
Or it doesn't age at all if it's not biological.
That's true too.
But if it's not biological, couldn't the powers be where it came from just turn it off? So it's like, oh, you're not giving any more information.
Oh, like on Independence Day, the first Independence Day, remember how it was in Roswell or Area 51, whatever.
Yeah.
And they had the aliens came on Independence Day, and they went down into the bunker of where they were keeping the aliens.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, there's been no movement in 55 years, and suddenly, as soon as the aliens came, suddenly there's all this movement, and they woke up.
Oh yeah, they were probably in some kind of
sleep stage,
like in sci-fi movies when you go to space and stuff, you were like in a sleep mode.
Yeah,
until,
like Buzz Light, the new Lightyear movie. Well, that's a cartoon, but
Well, that's based on the same idea. Yeah, and then you wake up, 100 years later, you're still the same age.
You're still because you're in the hypersleep. Hypersleep. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow, there's so much here.
There's so much.
Yeah.
This is just like the tip of it.
Yep. We should just do a podcast all on aliens.
At this point, we probably could.
I know. Well, that was really fun. Learning about Airel. And yeah, that's all then. We're all done.
Yeah, that's it for today. That's all we got.
Okay, bye guys.
Thank you.